Police have called off the search for the 4-year-old, but investigations into his disappearance continue. South Australians are being asked to leave their porch lights on in support of Gus's family, many holding on to hope he may somehow find his way home.
4-year-old Gus is understood to have been living at his grandparents' homestead with his mother Jess and his 1-year-old brother Ronnie. Gus's father, Joshua Lamont, lives 2 hours' drive away, 100 kilometres to the west in Ballali North near Jamestown. The Daily Mail has been told that while Josh and Jess remain a couple, Josh, Gus's father, does not live on the station because of family clashes with Jess's transgender parent, Josie.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't breathe. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. The transgender parent, I think this is him. And this does raise the question, when Gus's dad normally wants to visit his son, can he? Is he allowed to visit the farm openly, or does he pitch up only when the coast is clear? Also, when last did he see Gus, and when was his next scheduled visit? But before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, interesting, meaningful, please do hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, Gus's transgender grandparent, Josie Murray, that's that person's name, who locals say transitioned many years ago, told the Daily Mail the family had not lost hope, while declining offers of assistance in the search effort. You can't help. We are still dealing with this. That's quite an interesting position. You can't help. You would imagine they would be desperate for all the help that they can get. Now, according to the Daily Mail, the property where he vanished was eerily quiet on Wednesday with no sign of any police operation after the Defence Force, SES and Indigenous Tracker search teams withdrew from the area. But think of those words. You can't help. We are still dealing with this. So the number 2 clue everyone missed is the family dynamics. But in this case, the reason we don't know about them is because the family have been unusually secretive about them. You may remember I have already dealt with the statistics behind false abduction claims. And do you remember one of the aggravating factors we dealt with was this one? Additional risk factors identified in false allegation cases include unstable environments, significant interpersonal struggles between family members, and recent changes to household structures. All of these contribute to circumstances leading to false allegation. We can see that what we are dealing with here is an unstable and untenable family environment. We can see there are significant interpersonal struggles between at least 2 family members, and this does appear to be a recent change in the household structure. Something else to consider is Gus's 1-year-old brother Ronnie. At that age, we can imagine it preoccupied and distracted his mother Jess, and presumably the idea was that someone else would supervise and keep an eye on Gus, especially when Ronnie needed to be bathed or fed. These are often activities that take a lot of time and attention. This is a scenario that I think is also worth considering in the Madeleine McCann case, that when Madeleine's siblings needed to be bathed or dressed, remember they were, I think, less than 2 years old, who was looking after Madeleine? And so a question I think needs to be asked is, who was supposed to be looking after or watching Gus when he disappeared? Also want to read a comment from one of the TCRS moderators, her name's Jelsi, from Canada, who writes, lack of supervision in this situation, in my opinion, played a big role in this child's disappearance. At 4 years of age, it only takes a second for them to run off unnoticed. I needed eyes on the back of my head when my son was 4. Even with my parents around, it seemed like an endless duty to always have eyes on him. It truly does take a village to raise a child. And obviously, in a farm setting, you don't have a village. And when you have the AFL final taking place on a Saturday, that village is even more deserted, with people preoccupied with the game. Again, the question is, how relevant are these factors? What do you guys think? Well, I'm not going to take it further than that. It's a short one today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.